Welcome to the 5x series, video number 1, in which I'm going to evaluate Paycom software, whether it can do a 5x in the next 5 years or even 10 years. Paycom software did a 20x in the past 9 years. This company went public in 2014 at a stock price of $15, and currently it's close to $300, which means that it almost did a 20x in 9 years. Even if you had bought this company in 2017, you would have had a 7x. This company had a multi-bagger written all over it. As you can see on the screen, the average revenue growth for this company for the past 9 years is more than 35% year over year. The gross margins are north of 80% consistently for the past 9 years. The net profit margins are over 20% consistently for the past 9 years. And this company is very investor friendly. Look at the number of outstanding shares. There is pretty much no dilution in 9 years. These are the characteristics of a multi-bagger, and I'm very surprised that I didn't know about this stock. I wish someone told me about this stock a few years ago. In that way, I could have easily bought this stock because it checks all the boxes for me for a multi-bagger. But currently, my aim is to find the next 5x bagger or a 10x bagger, right? So that's why I was asking for suggestions with companies that have consistent double-digit revenue growth, great gross margins north of 70%, investor friendly where the company is not diluting the shareholders significantly, and has good net profit margins. Okay, past is past. Currently it's at $294 with a market cap of $17 billion. Let's now look at this company and see if it can be a multi-bagger again, a 5x in next 5 years or even 10 years timeline. Let's first look at what Paycom does. As you can see on the screen, Paycom is a cloud-based human capital management solution. It delivers a software as a service for small and mid-sized companies in the United States. It provides applications in the areas of talent acquisition, including applicant tracking, candidate tracker, background checks, onboarding, e-verify, and tax credit services. So simply, it's a SaaS business. Let's look at its competitive landscape. A lot of companies operate in this space, and ADP is their biggest competitor. We all know ADP, which runs our payroll. As you can see on the screen, ADP operates with companies of every size, but Paycom, it's in the middle. I've highlighted it in yellow. It deals with small to medium-sized companies. So let's see how they are doing with respect to the financials, because there is a lot of competition. For me to get an idea of how they are doing financially, let me look at the latest quarter results. As you can see on the screen, they made a revenue of $401 million. The gross margin is 80%, which suggests that they have a very good product. The net margin is about 16%. That is definitely a healthy net profit margin. Let's look at its guidance to get an idea of the growth rate. For the past 9 years, as I said before, on an average, this company is growing at more than 35%, right? So next year, they're saying they can grow about 25% year over year to make about $1.7 billion of revenue. Let's look at the balance sheet. They have about $530 million of cash and cash equivalents. Remember that this company is already profitable since 9 years. So they're not burning cash. They are delivering positive cash flow, right? So the balance sheet is definitely in a very healthy condition. Now let's get to the valuation to see whether we can get a 5x or not. If we're not getting a 5x, we need to find out at what price can we buy to get that 5x. So that's what I'm going to show now. As usual, I'm going to give one valuation with reasonable assumptions and another valuation with great execution. Let's first look at the case with reasonable assumptions. In 2023, they're saying they can get to about $1.7 billion of revenue. With respect to estimated growth rate, I'm assuming 20% year over year growth for the next 5 years. Remember that in the most recent year, they grew their revenue by about 25%, and the industry, the HRM industry itself is growing in the double digits. So they're growing faster than the industry. So 20% I think is a reasonable assumption. With that, they can make about $4.3 billion of revenue in 2028. I actually watched some of their CEOs' interviews to check if they have a moat or if they have a differentiator to their competitors, because they are consistently getting 80% gross margins, and they're also growing faster than the industry, which means that they have something special, right? But the CEO did not give me any solid information. And with respect to assumed net profit margin, in the most recent quarter, they made about 16%, but In the coming years, I'm estimating that they would get to 20% net profit margins by either reducing their operating costs or increase their gross margin. So with that, they can make about $0.9 billion of net income in 2028. I'm applying a premium multiple of 30 for this company. With that, the market cap in 2028 would be about $26 billion. Currently, they have close to 58 million outstanding shares, and they have not diluted the shareholders for the past 7 or 8 years. So I'm going to assume that the share count is stable in the next 5 years as well. They can do buybacks because they have enough money, but I'm assuming no dilution. When I divide the $26 billion of market cap with 58 million outstanding shares, I get a stock price of $441. Currently they're at $292, right? So that's about 51% gain in 5 years. And for me to get a 2x, the stock has to fall to about $221. So reasonable assumptions case does not hint at even a 2x, forget about a 5x. Now look at a great execution case where I am showing 25% year-over-year growth, which is possible if they can add more services to their SaaS business or even execute very well. And I'm keeping the profit margin and multiple same, even the number of outstanding shares same as the base case, with which the stock price in 2028 would be about $541. Currently they're at $292, so that represents an 85% gain in 5 years, which is very good. But I'm looking at a 5x here, so we're nowhere close to 5x, even in the great execution case. Let me now show you a what if case of what has to happen for this company to do a 5x in 5 years. For it to do 5x, fundamentally, this company has to grow its revenue 38% year over year for the next 5 years, which is almost impossible. There's no way they can do that. And they have to get a multiple of 50, which they're nowhere near. So 5x for Paycom at this stage seems like an impossible task within the next 5 years. I wish somebody told me about this stock back in 2014 or 2017 when it was cheap, but now it's too late. Now, I'm only showing the 5 years evaluations, right? So if we're looking for 5x in 5 years, we may be greedy, right? So let's look at a 10-year valuation. Usually, I'm very opposed to do a 10-year valuation because we do not even know what happens tomorrow, and we're assuming what happens in 10 years, right? So this company may even disappear. But thinking about the company, this company has profit, they have a lot of clients, they have good gross margin, they have cash. There is very, very less likelihood that this company will disappear in 2033, right? So that's why I'm even daring to even do a valuation 10 years out. But let me put my assumptions there. 15% year over year growth for the next 10 years, that I think is reasonable for this company. I'm keeping the net profit margin at 20% and multiple at 30, which I think are reasonable. With that, the stock price in 2033 would be about $718. If bought at $292, that's going to give me a 146% gain in 10 years. So that's about 2.5x in 10 years, which is not so great return. And for me to do a 5x in 10 years, the stock has to fall to about $144. So somehow, miraculously, if the stock falls to 144 in the near future or even next year or the year after, if I buy at that point, I can get a 5x in 10 years. In conclusion, I'm looking at a 51% gain in 5 years, which is nowhere near a 5x gain. So that's a negative. The first stock that we have evaluated for a 5x is not a multi-bagger, in my opinion, with respect to fundamentals. So please give me more suggestions for me to do this 5x series videos. Please keep in mind that I'm looking for companies that are growing at a double-digit rate, have more than 70% gross margin, have 20% plus net profit margins, and are investor friendly, that are not diluting the shareholders significantly. There are companies like this. We just have to find them, right? And I'm looking at companies that have 5 to 15 billion market cap. So it's easy for them to do a 5x rather than a company that has already $100 billion market cap, right? So all I want you to do is go to stockanalysis.com, type in your favorite ticker, and look at the income statement tab. And you can check their gross margins, their revenue growth rate, net profit margins, and stock dilution, and give me some suggestions. So If the suggestions are good, I'm going to do a video and together we can get that next 5x stock. Thank you so much for watching.